Hare Hare. Shri Radha Madhav ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Nityananda. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, titled Dhyana Yoga, text 36. Okay, it's on there. Asamsayatmana yogo. Asamsayatmana yogo. Dushprapa iti me matihi. Dushprapa iti me matihi. Vashyatmana tu yatata. Vashyatmana tu yatata. Shakyo vaptum upayataha. Shakyo vaptum upayataha. Shakyo vaptum upayataha. Asamshayatmana yogo. Dushprapa iti me matihi. Vashyatmana tu yatata. Shakyo vaptum upayataha. Asamshayatmana yogo. I'm saying it wrong? Oh. Oh my God, I am saying it wrong. Asamyatatmana yogo. Repeat that. Asamyatatmana yogo. Dushprapa iti me matihi. Vashyatmana tu yatata. Shakyo vaptum upayataha. Please repeat. Asamyatatmana yogo. Dushprapa iti me matihi. Vashyatmana tu yatata. Shakyo vaptum upayataha. Asamyatatmana. Shakyo vaptum upayataha. Asamyatatmana yogo. Dushprapa iti me matihi. Vashyatmana tu yatata. Shakyo vaptum upayataha. Asamyatatmana yogo. Dushprapa iti me matihi. Vashyatmana tu yatata. शक्यो वाप्तुम् उपायतः माताजी असंयतात्मना योगो दुष्प्राप इति मे मतिः वश्यात्मना तु यतता शक्यो वाप्तुम् उपायतः असंयतात्मना योगो दुष्प्राप इति मे मतिः वश्यात्मना तु यतता शक्यो वाप्तुम् उपायतः असंयता unbridled atmana by the mind yoga self-realization dushprapaha difficult to obtain iti thus me my matihi opinion vashya controlled atmana by the mind to but yatata while endeavoring shakyaha practical avaptum to achieve upayataha by appropriate means. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of the yoga practice without separate endeavor, but a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitha Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tine Resmarana Hoy Vigna Vinashan Anayasha Hoy Nija Vanchita Puran. Asamyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me matihi vashyatatmana tu yatata shakyo vaptum upayataha. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. I'd like to welcome our new guests here from the Far East. I don't know exactly where, from the East. From China, where? In China? Where in China? I've been to China once, Shenzhen and Hong Kong. But Shanghai, oh, okay, all right, someday. Okay, well, welcome. Thank you for coming. And thank you to the others as well. Good to see you all. Hare Krishna. And okay, so so here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, in this verse, he answers Arjuna's question. Arjuna states his question 2 verses before this in text 33 and 34. Oh, you turned it off. I was going to have you scroll around. So in text 33, Arjuna asks the question, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized seems impractical and unendurable for me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. And then in text 34, he says, for the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Actually, Arjuna is not asking a question, he's making 2 statements. He says that, I don't think I can follow what you're telling me. And why do I think I cannot follow what you're telling me? Because the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So basically here, Arjuna gave a shot at trying to tell Krishna, listen, it's not going to, I can't control the mind, just forget it. He did try that because he wasn't asking Krishna how to control the mind. He said, listen, you can't control the mind, that's it. And Krishna wouldn't have it, So that's where, where you have music, So it's like Krishna wouldn't have it because he's like, Arjuna is making a really good point. He's saying that, mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, very strong. And I think it's more difficult than controlling the wind. It's almost like saying something is, there's a way to say things, something is impossible. It's impossible, but that's one way to say it. Another way to say it, I can't hear what you said. Sorry, make eggs fly? When pigs fly, yeah, okay, I can't. Okay. So they make pigs fly, for instance. It's like, okay, say something that's completely, so, and what Arjuna is saying is true. He's saying, subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. And then immediately, Krishna, answers back. He says, Lord Krishna says, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and detachment. No, don't give me that you can't control the mind. This is how we do it. No, Krishna wouldn't buy that from Arjuna, that I cannot control the mind. Is that you have to control the mind. That was Krishna's response to Arjuna's statement. And then he comes to this verse. He says, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. So basically, Krishna here demolishes any hope that Arjuna may have had to do self-realization without controlling the mind. To follow any process of yoga without controlling the mind. That to be spiritual means that one has to control one's mind. Without controlling the mind, you cannot be spiritual. You cannot be a genuine practitioner. And, this is a lesson I'm speaking to myself also. Because dealing with the mind is like an ongoing thing. It's like, it's like there's parts. There's one part of us that wants to be a devotee, and then there's the mind. Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada said this? Who said this? I think Prabhupada, the mind is a non-devotee. That the mind is actually a non-devotee, and it's, what is that? We say that when we come to Krishna consciousness, when you're trying to be spiritual, you have to give up the association of non-devotees, but there's one sitting inside you, and that's our mind. It's very, very, the mind can be one's greatest enemy or one's best friend. Unfortunately, when we come to Krishna consciousness and when we're practicing, we're dealing with only one of the two, which is that he's the greatest enemy. It's not that, maybe he's the friend too. Not really. It's never the friend. The mind is a non-devotee. And when we associate with the mind, we fall down. The mind puts us in such an embarrassing situation. And what is the mind? The mind is this. Mind is restless. He's turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. When you have a child that's restless, turbulent, obstinate, very strong, it's very hard to deal with it. And sometimes you can see that. But at least with the child grows up, the mind doesn't. Child will grow up sometime, and then what? And after it becomes an adult, it's not. At least you don't have to deal with it as much as it was, it was young. But the mind doesn't grow up. And this is the mind that we are dealing with. But and Krishna admits that. He says in the previous verse, he says that the mind durnigraham, that it is difficult to curb. It is undoubtedly difficult to curb. And Srila Prabhupada and he uses the word chalam, durnigraham chalam. If you go to the previous verse. So you see there in the so he says asamshayam mahabaho mana durnigraham chalam. So he says the mind manaha is durnigraham, is difficult to curb. Why? Because it's restless. So Krishna is admitting, yes, this mind is restless. Because that was Arjuna's description of the mind. The first adjective he uses to describe the mind is chanchalam. And Krishna admits, yes, this mind is restless. But, he says you have to curb it by practice and detachment. And then in this verse, he says that as long as the mind is unbridled, meaning it's got no control, it's got no regulation, self-realization is difficult work. Self-realization will not happen. But the mind who's controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. For one whose mind is controlled, Krishna says that you have to have your mind controlled and you have to strive by appropriate means. Not that just the mind is controlled and then after that, there is no means that we have to take. No, there is a means, because that means keeps that mind under control. And of course, it helps us become Krishna conscious. It helps us transcend the mind altogether. We have to do both. And he says this is assured of success. Of course, basically, just a sneak peek into the next verse, Arjuna becomes a little depressed hearing about this. So in the next verse, he asks a question now. He says, "O Krishna, what is the destination of an unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but then later who desists due to worldly mindedness and who does not attain perfection in mysticism?" So Arjuna becomes a little depressed. He's like, okay, so the only way to do it is to control the mind. What if I practice for some time and then I fall down? You see, Arjuna, this is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita, is like, maybe the first time when we read it, it might all seem like, disconnected and like, you don't really kind of like understand a lot. But when you go through it again and then you understand, it's actually a conversation in progress. There's words that are said, there's reactions, there's emotions, and there's logic, and there's reasoning. And what's really nice is Arjuna, Krishna, it's so merciful that the Supreme Personality of Godhead put Arjuna in a situation where he raises the same doubts that come in our mind. It's like, no, I can't control the mind. No, you must control the mind. What if I practice for some time? Okay, I'll do it, but what if I fail? And Arjuna doesn't stop there, right? He goes to text 38. He doesn't stop. He continues his depression. He says, "O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere?" He's really depressed. He's like, I'll become a devotee. Then after I became a devotee, it's hard for me to go back to being the materialist that I used to be. At least I thought I was good in being a materialist. Now I lost hope of being a materialist. I became a devotee. Now if I'm not able to become a devotee, I can't go back to being a full-on materialist because, I've seen, I'm just adding a little, we've seen examples of devotees trying to become full-on meditators is not the same. Because how can you forget what you've learned? So I'm not a materialist and I'm not a devotee either. So what am I? And so, Arjuna goes into this. He explains it's very interesting how Arjuna asks these questions. And then, of course, the conclusion of this chapter is very nice, because Krishna says that basically he talks about how there is always hope and that there is never any loss or diminution in this process. And Krishna says, he answers in text 40, he says, O son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction, either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So there is good promise that this is worth it. This is the point, that the mind is difficult to control. The mind is restless. And the mind is a non-devotee. And we are used to taking, why were we non-devotees? Because we were associating with our mind. Otherwise the soul is a devotee. The spirit soul is a devotee, but then it associates with this material mind and loses its devotional qualities, asat sangha. But through association through non-devotional association of the materialistic, lusty mind, the devotee spirit soul has become a non-devotee. And by giving up association of that materialistic mind, by curbing it, the spirit soul becomes a devotee again. How do you, then if you don't associate with the mind, who do you associate with? You associate with the devotees. You associate with the devotees. You associate with the devotees. You hear, you hear Bhagavad Gita from acharyas like Srila Prabhupada. We read these books. We attend, kirtans. We chant, chanting attentively. This is the most important thing that we should be doing. Why? Because if you think about it, when we chant, we can really observe how much we've controlled our mind. How much we are addicted to associating with the mind, and how much are we not associating with the mind. That we can see during chanting Hare Krishna, when we chant japa especially. Also during kirtan. Kirtan is a little easier to focus. But even then, you can be in kirtan and be in your own world, looking at something. But japa, when we chant Hare Krishna, we can really see that. Of course, you can see it when you're reading and also. But japa is a very, very, very good indicator of how much we are associating with this materialistic mind. And actually during japa, we are asked to not listen to the mind. We are asked to take our attention away from our mind. We are asked to take our attention towards Krishna, towards the holy name. And to help with japa, sometimes devotees can have a picture of Krishna in front of them. Or, I found it very useful. Unfortunately, I struggle to sit all the time and chant. But I found it useful to look at the Maha Mantra. This is suggested to me by a very close friend. And, he told me that, you just observe this Maha Mantra as you chant. Because the words are non-different to Krishna. The Maha Mantra itself, the names are non-different to Krishna. And we can chant and observe, and I've found it to be very helpful. Because you're constantly moving your eyes, but you're still focusing on the mantra, and it helps focus a bit. There are different things. Sometimes devotees have verses in front of them that inspire them to, focus on the holy name. I've seen Bhrigupati Prabhu, hold the Bhagavad Gita like this and chant. So, but the point is to connect to Krishna. Otherwise, our mind is just like, it's ridiculous. And then the thing is, sometimes we are thinking of devotional things, but at least personally, I have found that sometimes, even though I may be thinking of devotional things, still, I seem to personally be contaminated with the thought that I am the doer. I have to plan, I have to do, I have to execute this, I'm going to plan this, I'm going to plan that, and I'm making all kinds of plans in my head. And that's not completely prohibited, but at the same time, when one does it when one notices that one has that anartha, that one is the doer, rather than one depends on the mercy of Krishna, like when thinking moves into the sphere of overthinking, where you've kind of basically you're contaminated with that thought of being the doer, so much so that japa period is the time or chanting is the time when we are focused on everything else except chanting. Then if we don't realize that Krishna is the doer and that Krishna ultimately is the protector and that we have to surrender unto him and that we do need to chant quality rounds, we need to be able to observe if we're at least chanting all the words properly, we're chanting the mantra properly, but we don't. And then personally I've had this experience where then the mind carries us away. The mind carries us away, it embarrasses us because the mind is obstinate, it's restless. And if I am not going to, if during the time of japa, I do not take advantage of the presence of Krishna in the form of the holy name, then at other times when I'm not explicitly chanting the holy name, where is the hope of controlling the mind? The mind literally eats us up. It's like, therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he writes here in text 35, towards the end of the purport, right? Srila Prabhupada writes that it is just like the feeling of satisfaction, a hungry man, you see that? Yeah. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. So, in Krishna consciousness, the treatment of the mind, to control that mind, how do you control that mind? The control of mind, as Srila Prabhupada in this purport, he writes that the Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. So the proper engagement, the proper treatment is to hear the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which includes the name of the Supreme Lord. It includes hearing Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha is of two forms. That which is spoken by Krishna and that which describes Krishna. So there's two forms of Krishna Katha. That which is spoken by Krishna himself, the instructions that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita, that is Krishna Katha. And there is also Krishnasya Katha. So there's Krishna Katha, which is the pastimes, and then there is Krishnasya Katha, which is the word or the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead given by himself in the Bhagavad Gita and in other texts like the Srimad Bhagavatam. So both of this, hearing both of these, this is the treatment for the material mind. And what is the engagement? Eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. Wonderful. So by taking Krishna Prasadam and by hearing, by utilizing the hearing process properly, we will control our mind. Otherwise, there is no hope. I was talking to Avadhuta Chandra Prabhu this morning also. It's like, if we have to look at ourselves and think, I don't have the ability to control the mind. And then some people try to figure out what their ability is based on their horoscope. I don't recommend that. Am I going to be a brahmachari for life by looking at the horoscope? What did we do before we came to Krishna consciousness? Does that look like anything like brahmacharya? It's like how that. Our birth and activities are sufficient to describe what our guna and karma is and what's written on that horoscope. And it's not some high sannyasi, pure devotee, stuff in our horoscope. That if that was there, I wouldn't have had a problem. I wouldn't be asking this question to the astrologer. So these are all stupid questions to ask. We don't have the ability to control the mind. We just don't. Period. We do not have that ability. We do not have the ability to transcend the mind. We do not have that. We don't have the ability. If we had it, we would have done that a long time ago. And there are people, who are born quite elevated spiritual people, who are born quite detached, quite self-realized, and naturally very inclined towards, self-realization, renunciation. Naturally, they're not very agitated. They don't get angry very easily, and they tend to be very simple. And there are people like this. Very few, very rare, far and few. Definitely, I think we can say with confidence. At least I can say with confidence, not me. So that being said, we don't have the ability to control the mind. Arjuna said that, and, Krishna wouldn't have it, but at the same time, Krishna didn't tell Arjuna that you have the ability within you. It's within you. The power is within you. All you have to do is look at the sticker on the refrigerator, and then you'll develop the ability or all that kind of nonsense. You put some, what do they call those things? Refrigerator, refrigerator magnet, what they call it. Guru Maharaj even gave a class about this. No. I think he did fridge magnet philosophy or something like this. There's a lecture. Do you remember this? Fridge magnet, So basically it's like inspirational quotes. If you wake up every day and you look at your goal, you'll achieve it and this and that. And you can wake up every day and say, I want to control the mind, and the mind will still not get controlled. It's just... that's not how it works. We have to disassociate from the material mind by associating and hearing about Krishna Katha. That's the only way we can disassociate from this mind, is by associating with Krishna Katha, by hearing and chanting attentively, by performing those very, very basic activities of Krishna consciousness, to get a taste, to get a higher taste. And that higher taste is performed through the linking process by linking the mind, engaging the mind in devotional activities, primarily Sankirtan, which means to hear and glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to hear about and glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, beginning with His holy name. So chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord is extremely important. And one who does not realize this importance, but is instead attached to the other, aspects of yoga practice, either by stretching or by, breathing or doing some kind of meditation or doing these different kinds of activities without endeavoring to become Krishna conscious. And how do you become Krishna conscious? You become Krishna conscious by becoming conscious of Krishna. And you become conscious of Krishna, like when you chant the holy name, you have to be conscious that Krishna is there. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. It is not an easy thing. But if we are not conscious of Krishna when we chant the holy name, how are we Krishna conscious? How are we Krishna conscious? So it definitely begins by becoming conscious of Krishna. And Krishna is everywhere, But especially, He's in His holy name. He's in these books, like when we read these books, or when we're listening to a class like this, paying attention to that. This is recognizing Krishna, being conscious of Krishna. So, if a yoga practitioner does not endeavor to become Krishna conscious, but instead is endeavoring everything else. They're endeavoring everything else. They're trying to change their situation. They put the blame on other devotees. They blame this, they blame that. Then they cannot control the mind. If we become Krishna conscious, then we don't have to worry about anything else, actually. The holy names are so powerful. The holy names are so powerful. They're extremely powerful. If we hear the holy name, here according to Srila Prabhupada, we hear the holy name, we read these books, even in Kirtan, we are present in the Kirtan. Like we know we are in Kirtan. We are glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're here, we are chanting these names. And we're chanting these names with a desire, not that we are chanting these names like we're being forced to, but rather that we are chanting these names with an intention and desire to associate with Krishna, to serve Him. And we honor Krishna Prasadam. Our mind will be controlled. This is what Krishna is saying. This is not my opinion, Krishna's opinion. So it is a very, very, very powerful process. This kind of extremely powerful process, you cannot find anywhere else. Happens only in devotional service. And, we're very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has given a very, very systematic way in which we're almost like forced to do this. If you think about it, I was just thinking the other day, we pray and engage in religious activities a lot. It's a lot. If you think about it, 4:30 in the morning till 5:15 we have kirtan. Actually, it's very nice. I was showing Avadhuta Chandra Prabhu also this morning. They had the old Sunday feast card from Los Angeles. I got that. I ordered a book, the old Teachings of Lord Chaitanya book, printed in 1972. An old copy, wanted to gift it to Falini Mataji whenever someone goes up there, because that was the first book that she received. And so she wanted that same way it was. And interestingly, it's Krishna's arrangement. She joined in Los Angeles. And in that book was a Sunday feast card from 1972. It's exact like a hippie-looking Sunday feast card. And it says Radha Krishna Temple. And they have and they say, for relief for all anxieties of material existence, I think that's what it says. Material miseries or material existence. Please chant these names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then, there was an advertisement for the Sunday feast program. And then they also have their sunrise meditation, 4:30 a.m. And I thought that was a great way to call Mangal Arati. Sunrise meditation. What do you all do? We do sunrise meditation. Sunrise happens a lot later though, but still, it's nice. The concept of it, it's like very nice in the head, So, what's the sun, Supreme Personality of Godhead is more brilliant than, 10,000 suns. Arjuna describes that in the previous, this is chapter 6. So chapter 11, universal form. So in there, Arjuna describes how Krishna is like, that it's like, if thousands upon thousands of suns were to rise at the same time, that is the effulgence that Arjuna saw. He was blinded by it. So, we start in the morning, 4:30. Then we have 2 hours of, japa. And then we have darshanarti, then Guru Puja, then Bhagavatam class. I mean, by the time we take breakfast, it's 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours. And many times, there's still some rounds left, so then you go more, it's like more than that. And then apart from that, we do a reading. And then, different services. And then sometimes, if there's a program like this, then there's an evening program. It's a lot of worship. It's a lot of worship that it almost like, we just take it for granted. It's a lot of worship. Meaning that we have so much opportunity to engage the mind in becoming conscious of Krishna. At least if we become conscious of Krishna in the morning and in the evening, we become more conscious of Krishna during japa period in the morning program. And then in the evening, we become conscious of Krishna at least by doing some reading or sometime in the day, Then we have some hope of controlling the mind. Prabhupada called it the sandwich program. The morning and evening programs, you meditate on Krishna in the morning, you meditate on Krishna in the evening, then Krishna will be merciful enough to, because, we're chanting chapter 12, right? And what does Krishna actually want us to do? The first thing that he wants us to do, and the first thing he describes is chapter 12, text 6 and 7. Right? So the Sanskrit is Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavam inachirat partha maya veshita chetasam. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So so when Krishna is describing who a devotee is, this is the first description he gives of that devotee in chapter 12. And now, at least if we meditate on Krishna in the morning and in the evening, then we can beg Prabhupada's mercy that he may ask Krishna to help us to control our mind during the rest of the day. There's some hope, but if we do not do it in the morning, and then it's just very difficult. Over the years of devotional service, I'm continuing to realize that it becomes very hard. It becomes very, very hard to control the mind. So one must endeavor to chant the holy names properly, to read these books with attention and attentiveness, to hear the classes with attention, to attend kirtan attentively and enthusiastically, and take prasadam. Then our mind will be controlled. Automatically we will experience that higher taste. This is why we have to engage in that's why the process of Sankirtan. I mean, what we're doing in the mornings, this is all Sankirtan. It is Samyak Kirtan. We are coming together and chanting the holy names of Krishna. We're doing that at Mangalarti. We're doing that at Darshanarti. We're doing that at Guru Puja. We're doing that even during Japa period. We don't, therefore Japa is also, it's better chanted in the association of devotees. We are also congregationally chanting the holy names of Krishna. So this is a very, very powerful process. We have to engage in Sankirtan. This is our only hope in this age of Kali. Otherwise, there is no hope. So. Okay, I'll stop here. If there are any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. Yes. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, there's this statement that Krishna is present everywhere, but he's especially present in the holy name. This is one of the, I can't conceive of this. Maybe this is just one of those inconceivable things, but I'm wondering if it has to do with how similarly there's the Virat Rupa, which is like the impersonal form of Krishna, but then there's the personal form of Krishna. Is that sort of similar, how Krishna is present everywhere?
No.
How do we understand?
Krishna is present everywhere. He's present everywhere. As Paramatma, he's spread everywhere. And through his energies, he sustains and maintains this entire world. And a devotee can see those energies in connection with Krishna. They can see Krishna's hand and activities in everything. So they are always Krishna conscious.
But they don't see it as Krishna.
They also see him, they also see as Krishna, because for the lover, the beloved is always visible. The beloved is almost stuck in one's eyes. Such is the nature of love. That the nature of love is such that in the higher stages of love, one sees Krishna. There are many instances where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibits that. He sees Krishna suddenly appear, and then he runs towards Krishna, and then Krishna disappears and he goes mad. But these are very, very high stages of ecstasy. When I say the word especially, I'm using it in the sense that in this age of Kali, and not just in this age of Kali, but in general, Krishna's holy name is more merciful than Krishna himself. The verse is
like the form of, because they're both like there's Krishna and there's the holy name. It's like different forms of Krishna.
This is the verse. This is the philosophy that Nama Namino. What is that verse? Anyways, I don't have the Veda base, but such a famous verse, and I was chanting this a little while ago. Nama Namino. Let's see. Oh, not working. Yeah. Anyways, I'll find the verse for you. But there's a verse that says that Krishna's holy name is more merciful than Krishna himself. I can't. My memory is failing me right now.
The name is Krishna.
The name is Krishna, but the holy name is a more merciful form of Krishna.
It's the Namastakam.
What is that? No, but there's a verse, a very famous verse. It ends with Nama Namino. Abhinnatvam Nama Namino. But how does the verse begin? Abhinnatvam Nama Namino. I'm trying to find it, but Abhinnatvam. Anyways, yeah.
All right, thank you, Prabhu.
Nama Chintamani, Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Purna Shuddho, Nitya Mukto, Abhinnatvam Nama Namino. So, how does the verse begin again?
Nama
Chintamani. Nama Chintamani. The holy name is the desire fulfilling tree. Is like a Chintamani gem, not a tree. Is a Chintamani gem. It's like a touchstone. Nama Chintamani. Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. And his, anybody can pull up the translation of that? Do you have it? Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinnatvam Nama Namina. He is not different. Is it in this? Oh, okay. Right, okay. Is this Chaitanya Charitamrita? Huh?
Yes, not here.
Okay. Go down. The holy name of Krishna is transcendental. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete. It is the form of all transcendental metaphors. It is not a material name under any condition. It is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Yes.
So, aspiring devotees like me would like to make as much progress in devotional service as possible. And so, as Srila Prabhupada was saying in the purport, you could honor foodstuffs, prasadam, but also attentively hearing japa. And my question is, how do we make as much progress in being attentive while hearing? Because it's really, really difficult to be attentive while hearing.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, but but we have to keep bringing our mind back. That's why I said sometimes devotees, they, look at the holy names when they chant. Sometimes different devotees use different techniques.
Mm-hmm.
But techniques aside, the main thing is the desire that one should do it. I had found this very nice, I'm going to cast this on the TV. This thing from Hari Bhakti Vilas, a devotee had posted this on social media. Let's see. It's not flipping. Oh. Okay. So, oops. If you want to be successful, there are 6 causes of success in japa. Mana samharanam saucham, mana maunam mantrartha chintanam, avyagaratvam anirvedo japa sampatti hetavaha. Translation: Mana samharanam, concentration of mind; saucham, cleanliness; maunam, silence of distractions from chanting; mantra artha chintanam, remembering the meaning of the mantra. O Radha, O Krishna, please engage me in your service. Avyagratvam, not being in a hurry. That's one thing. Finish. Sanatana Goswami says that one shouldn't be one should not try to be in a hurry to finish one's japa. And anirvedo, do not become discouraged. Do not become discouraged. So these 6 practices are the cause of great success in chanting japa.
Where did you find that?
This is from Hari Bhakti Vilas. I mean, a devotee had posted this on social media and I took a screenshot. So,
Could you send that into the group chat? Could you send that?
Yeah, I'll send it. So, sometimes I look at this. If you want some nectar stuff, you can go to Avadut. He's got some stuff there.
Could you frame that again so we can see one who's sick?
Oh, yeah. So this is very important to get that success, great success. So you concentrate the mind. See, when we remember these things, then it doesn't seem very vague, right? There are different aspects to things. Okay, so it'll be cleanly. I'll remember the meaning of the name. I won't try to be in a hurry. So you're going through these thoughts as you think, and you're trying to focus on the holy name, and that will help you achieve success. You had something, Avadut?
Just more glorification and tips for chanting. I was just hearing glorification this morning that actually the tendency is just to listen to the chatter of the mind, but it's actually a lot more interesting to put your attention towards just hearing the mantra. The mind just rattles off. I'll just listen to this nonsense material vibration. You're going to benefit a lot more than hearing the mantra, obviously.
Yeah.
This not being in a hurry, say like a devotee, due to circumstances, is left with a hefty amount of rounds later at night. In this situation, they may try to hurry. So should they say it's going to potentially put them into staying up at like 11:30, 12, or whatever? Should they save these rounds for tomorrow, or just?
No saving rounds for the next day. It was recently, I forgot who mentioned that to Maharaj. I think it was Bhakti Thakur Mataji. It's like, oh Maharaj, sometimes it becomes late, and then I'm like, I struggle to chant my 16 rounds, and then it becomes late. And Maharaj said, well, the way I make sure I chant my 16 rounds is I don't go to sleep if I don't finish it. It's a tough one. But, chanting 116 rounds. I mean, this is the foremost instruction of the spiritual master. Again, speaking for myself. To attentively chant one's rounds and to chant those rounds. This is what we vow in front of the spiritual master. We don't vow to chant attentively, but we vow to chant. It shows how much important that is. We don't vow to come to Mangal Arati every day, although we should come to Mangal Arati. We don't vow those things. We don't vow that I'm going to do service at the temple. You don't do it, and it's going to be a problem. But I'm just trying to draw a little comparison here to kind of recognize that importance. We vow to follow the 4 regulated principles and chant 16 rounds. And, if we do not give the due importance that it requires in our spiritual life, then, our priorities are a bit messed up. And I agree, Prabhu. You've seen situations that I've been in. I'm no person who's about anything that I'm speaking here. It's like the demands of different things even within the gambit of devotional service carries us away. But if we don't set our priorities straight, oh my God, this mind, it comes back and really, really gets us at, really puts us into a big embarrassment. And it wastes so much time, we have to deal with it, it's but you see the descriptions of the holy name are so fantastic that it literally says that by chanting this holy name of the Lord, very soon one will become. You read those descriptions. Very soon, quickly, one achieves success. It's very powerful. It's very powerful, but we're not taking advantage of this quick process. We drag it on. And that's my way of not directly answering your question. Okay, all right. Yes.
Haribol, I was just going to comment that one of the number one things I hear from devotees is becoming discouraged because they can't focus and keep their minds attentive on Krishna.
Yeah.
And I always think of Vikramitchi, who was a great sage, but he got distracted in his story, and he ended up being
Vishwamitra?
yes, he
Yeah.
ended up being Krishna's spiritual master, but he himself was distracted. So it's like saying, don't get discouraged. Know that others who are even more qualified than yourself have become distracted. So just keep on plodding on.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's true. Okay, thank you. Mataji's? Yes.
So it's really easy to become familiar, and you've been doing this for a while. So like, how do you not take this for granted and not become familiar, with the process?
I've become familiar many times, and then suffered because of becoming familiar, and then I regret it. I get chastised by devotees, and then I learn my lesson, and then. How do we not become familiar? You see, the main, actually, in my understanding, one of the reasons that causes us to become familiar is we tend to forget. You become familiar because we forget what we've been through, how, when the mind cheats us, we suffer. And at that moment of suffering, we're like, no, never again. But then we forget. We forget that misery that we experienced when the mind cheated us. I've noticed this, at least personally in my life, to be the greatest cause of becoming familiar with at least the process of devotional service. Familiarity with devotees is another thing. You forget, you start to look at them as mundane, people, rather than actually looking at, well, I'm with people who actually wake up at 4:30 in the morning every single day. This is like something like very, very, very unique. These are not normal people. Normal people gave up everything in life, not, earning any money, just like serving in the temple. And normal people don't spend 2 hours every day chanting one mantra, It's not normal, but we forget that. So I'm not talking about familiarity with devotees. We forget that familiarity with the spiritual master and devotees is to forget the greatness. But familiarity with our mind is more where we forget how this mind and what suffering it has put us into. That I've noticed. And how do you not forget? Well, two things. As I said, one is, there's all these mechanical processes I have to remember about. I have to remember how much I suffered, this, that. This is all still secondary to chanting the Mahamantra properly. All those techniques are okay, but they are not completely going to solve the problem. Like, if we make an endeavor to at the least, we come to a stage of devotional service where our morning program is of good quality, then the mind will protect us. How will the mind protect us? The mind can't protect us. Well, the mind becomes Krishna conscious. It becomes absorbed in Krishna conscious. Then the mind becomes our friend. And then, then our intelligence is activated and we remember things. But yes, we tend to forget. And then, but you know what? We don't forget everything. If something becomes really traumatic, then it's difficult to forget. And, if we don't learn our lesson with small mistakes, Krishna, tends to give us a tight slap. We really, really suffer. We really suffer within devotional service. It's not that you lose, Vaishnavas, Guru, Vaishnavas are very merciful. They always try to keep us somehow within devotional service, somehow engage us, somehow keep us like always within the association of devotees, however big of a rascal we are. But, we really suffer, really, really, really intensely. And then we don't tend to forget that suffering that easily. But do we really have to go that far? Sometimes in India, when you have a very stubborn cow, they heat a piece of iron or like an iron rod, and heat it hot, put it in flame, it becomes red hot, and then they touch it to the cow. And the cow of course, it freaks out. But then the cow learns its lesson. And then all it has to do is see that iron hot red thing, and then it immediately falls in line. So sometimes some intense pain is a form of lesson that Krishna teaches us. I've been through my share of it. I don't recommend devotees go through it. If devotees are more sincere, then they don't have to go through all that. But if you're insincere like myself, then yeah. You need that red hot iron treatment where so much suffering. It's within Krishna consciousness, it's like so much suffering. It's crazy. It's very embarrassing. Primarily creating that shame, the association of devotees. But then devotees being merciful still allow you to stay. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, that was,
This is just also in response to what you're saying. I haven't been doing it for that long, but for me, just seeing it from a perspective of I have done stuff where it's something that I do every day, and it's it gets to be
Could you hold it closer because I can't hear it?
Sorry, and it gets to be like a task or a chore, something that you do ritualistically. I feel for me, I would say that for me, I would say that one thing that might make it more so it doesn't get so routine and kind of like that is just having a sense of gratitude, and also I think he was saying remembering the meaning of what you're saying, and
yeah, all these help, all
Okay.
these six things.
Let me finish.
They will help.
Yeah.
Remembering the meaning, not being in a
Yeah,
hurry.
but also just
we have to,
Can I finish? Okay. Also just having a gratitude, just really feeling it. That's what I would say helps me, and also changing your environment. If you're doing it in the same spot every day, rather than it being I don't know, it becomes
No, you don't have to change your spot. The whole point is that we don't have
Can I
to.
finish?
We don't have to make material adjustments.
Oh, okay. Thank
So,
you. Thank you. Yeah.
We go beyond that.
Okay. Well, I would say for me, as far as chanting, because I'm new to it, and it's it does become a task and a tedious kind of thing sometimes. So for me, changing my environment helped me, going outside and having an appreciation for just what God has given us, the environment, really just I don't know, God's an artist, just going outside and experiencing that, and having an appreciation and a sense of gratitude for just being able to serve. That's such an amazing thing. That's just, I don't know, that's for me, and it's not for you, but that's okay. But for me, I would say that helped me. Mic drop.
Okay. All right. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shankar-patubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.